back to the channel, and today I'd like to bring you a quick review of this. This is Tai-Pan by James Clavell. Now this is the second book in the Asian Saga. This is the second book in publication order and timeline order, but the first books in both of those orders change. So Tai-Pan is it's part of the Noble House series of books, which is part of the Asian Saga. You should wiki this because it gets complicated. But either way, this is a historical fiction novel, a very entertaining one. Now this takes place in 1842 after the First Opium War, in the establishment of Hong Kong by the British Empire. Now James Clavell is very clever in that he uses a lot of real historical kind of things that have happened. And he does a lot of research, like he does exhaustive research, but he always changes the names and he adds a lot of drama and melodrama to these. Now, just like Shogun, if you have read that, this has a lot of intrigue, a lot of political intrigue, but it is also a family drama, melodrama, and it does follow one main character, the Tai-Pan, Struan his name is, and he's a man that is deeply conflicted at this point. Now he believes massively in democratic, the democratic parliamentary system of Great Britain, and he really wants to bring this to the rest of the world. He doesn't believe in kind of the tyranny of dictators, but at the same time he is all powerful as Tai-Pan, because that is kind of supreme leader or supreme commander in Chinese. And yeah, he is the Tai-Pan, and has this kind of supreme power. And one of the big themes here is kind of like, does supreme power corrupt? Even if you have that, you're trying to get to a goal of having a democratic parliamentary system. To get there, do you not have to then still abuse ultimate power? And now, being a longer book, 726 pages, I think this hardback was, and it's quite a large hardback. There's a lot of room there, and because it was written in 1966, there's a lot of stuff in here that you might find quite disturbing. James Clavell certainly pulls no punches here, and he deals with some very delicate issues. One of the big themes, again, is slavery. That's been been reading at the moment, but at this point, slavery has been abolished by the British. In fact, they're trying to kind of put pressure to have it abolished kind of worldwide. It does not fit in with modern Christian beliefs, and our main character is disgusted by the thought of slavery. And even floggings for punishments and stuff like this. But obviously he trades a lot with Americans at the time, and they were still using a lot of slaves to work their land. And there's lots of talks of like, I'll blow you out of the water, or I'll beat you up if I ever see you with like a slave on your ship, things like that. But it also goes further to deal with kind of serfdom that's taking place in Russia at the time, or the kind of like contracted house workers that Chinese will have, where they'll kind of take maybe a child that is less desired from another family, interview them and kind of sign them up to a contract to work in their house, things like that. Our main character has a lot of issues with this, and he finds it very difficult to kind of dance around these issues and still kind of remain relevant politically. So a lot of that is really interesting in here. You get a lot of history lessons from James Clavell, things around kind of hygiene, medical developments, kind of nautical developments at the time. So there's a lot of eye-opening stuff there, and it is certainly worth a read from that point. Now, if you compare this to Shogun, I feel like it has just as good kind of plotting, it's just as well written, but I do believe the character work is even better in this book than it was in Shogun. I find it extremely difficult to kind of split these as far as quality goes, Shogun and Tai-Pan. But if I had to put my money on one, if I had to say one is better than the other, I'm going to go with Tai-Pan. It's tighter, it's a bit more engaging off the rip. It's the characters I found a little bit more relatable, a little bit more 3D. That family melodrama really does help, and it's impossible to have that in Shogun because of the way the character is brought into the world, and the culture that he's brought into. Whereas I feel like this can be much more relatable to someone of a Western disposition, and I feel like it just has the edge a little bit on Shogun, but they're almost, the quality level is almost, there's nothing in it really. And for that reason, I would give this a 4.8 out of 5.